Ferrari's struggles in the 2023 Formula One season continue with no podium finishes yet, and their lowest points total after 3 races in the V6 turbo hybrid era. While a new car project is not feasible due to financial constraints and wind tunnel restrictions, Ferrari is working on extracting the potential of their current car. They have delivered upgrades for the car and plan to speed up the release of new components. Despite their efforts, Red Bull remains the team to beat, and Ferrari's chances of winning the championship this year seem slim. Will Ferrari's updates be enough to challenge the frontrunners? Let's dive in and find out. Ferrari will concentrate on extracting the potential of its current Formula One concept this season, and for the moment Ferrari isn't looking at a B-spec for their current car. Ferrari has yet to secure a podium result in 2023 and has only collected 26 points, their lowest total after 3 races in the V6 turbo hybrid era, which began in 2014. Although issues unrelated to speed, such as the 5-second penalty that lost Carlos Sainz 4th place in Australia and a power unit failure, have contributed, it's apparent Ferrari has to improve if it's to mount a genuine challenge to Red Bull, Aston Martin, and now even Mercedes after their resurgence during the last race. Vasseur feels the car has untapped potential, but that because of financial constraints and aerodynamic testing, it would be impossible to undertake the sweeping alterations necessary for what he refers to as a new car project. To do a new project during the season, to start from scratch, to do a new car with a cost cap first, but also considering the restriction of wind tunnel time, I don't want to say that it's impossible, but it's very difficult, said Vasseur. Also, we have the feeling, and I hope that we are right and we are going in the right direction, that we still have tons of room for improvement on the car. As long as we are still able to develop the car to get points on the aero, to get a better balance, to get better stability and so on, I think it makes sense to push in this direction. Ferrari has been Red Bull's closest rival in terms of speed this season. However, it underperformed in qualifying in Australia. It has suffered with tyre management in races, in a car that the drivers have characterized as peaky and that struggles especially in traffic. Although the team retained last year's unique car shape with the broad scalloped upper surface of the side pods, it aimed to increase straight line speed performance at the expense of a little downforce in the corners. Although the team achieved this goal, it still lags behind Red Bull in other areas, particularly straight line speed. According to Vasseur, Ferrari is continuing with its development strategy, but with efforts to speed it so that new components are released somewhat sooner than expected. Ferrari delivered a redesigned front wing end plate, floor edge changes, and a circuit-specific beam wing in Saudi Arabia. While not proclaiming any modifications for Australia, Vasseur has mentioned the appearance of upgrades but refused to specify what they were. You have the plan of development before the season, and then you have to react to the circumstances due to the competitiveness and the behavior of the car, and the aim will be to catch them very quickly, said Vasseur when asked about how the upgrade plan had changed. We brought some good updates in Melbourne and we will continue. What we can do is to push to try to speed up this process, also take a different direction in terms of balance and so on. But we can't change the plan massively after 3 races. We will adapt due to the circumstances, we will speed up, we will put all the resources to speed up the process, and the updates that were planned for Barcelona will come in Imola, and we will have the updates in advance at 1 or 2 races. But you can't change massive things. Vasseur claims that any upgrades for the next race in Azerbaijan would be circuit-specific, but he promises new components in the races after Baku, except for Monaco. We have a flow of updates that will come, not for Baku, but for Miami, Imola, not Monaco, but also Barcelona. At each race, we will have an update on the car. We are sticking to the plan that we made some adjustments in terms of balance and the behavior. It was much better in Melbourne, and will continue in this direction. It's not a B car if that's what you want to say. We won't come with something completely different. We will continue to update this one. Vasseur was pleased with the car's performance in Australia, which he thought mirrored advancements in tyre management in race circumstances, something Ferrari worked on in practice. He did, however, admit that we have to confirm this step at additional tracks beginning with Baku at the end of the month. Although Vasseur highlighted Sainz's race performance, which compared favourably to leader Verstappen while the Ferrari was in clean air after recovering from taking the initial restart 10th, at that moment the Red Bull driver was able to manage the pace owing to being comfortably in charge of the race. Vasseur also cited qualifying issues, such as Charles Leclerc's last Q3 run being hampered by the decision to abandon the tyre prep lap due to rain and losing time early in a lap behind teammate Sainz, who was also on a prep lap up as obscuring Ferrari's ability. In quali, we didn't deliver, we didn't extract the potential of the car, and it's where the frustration came from, said Vasseur. Even if the outcome of the race and the situation with the first red flag was against us, Carlos was able to bring the pace. It was good. Not mega, but it was good, and I think we did a good job in the race where we didn't in quali. We could have been on the front row, and then the understanding of the weekend would have been completely different. We have to understand why we were not able to. The situation in Melbourne was quite extreme, with the decision to do the prep lap or not the prep lap, but at the end of the day, the tyres were not ready for turn 1 in the last stint, and we lost the first row in this corner. But I think the analysis of the weekend would have been completely different with the first row, with the same car and the same drivers. That's why we have to stay calm in the analysis. Ferrari believes it has made progress with the car, which is nevertheless difficult to drive. But Vasseur suggests that the next step is to determine if the increase in Australia is track-specific or due to vehicle advances. We need to understand that we haven't had the complete range of tracks, but we always have the feeling that we are not far away and able to fight for the first row with them. Red Bull in quali, said Vasseur of Ferrari's performance. It was more difficult in the race. The advantage in the race in Melbourne was much lower, and I think this is coming also from the capacity of the driver to drive the car at the limit with different kinds of fuel, different tyres and so on. If you have a car a bit too peaky, you can manage the situation in quali for one lap with new tyres. You know the balance after 5 sets of soft tyres, but over the race, it's probably a bit more difficult and we need to take a little different direction. Next to all this, Ferrari has confirmed that it has been kept in the dark about Red Bull's super huge advantage in DRS zones. The team seemed to have improved their straight line speed in the first race after addressing the disadvantage during the winter break. Maximum speeds in Bahrain revealed Ferrari several kilometers per hour faster than Red Bull, but in Saudi Arabia, Max Verstappen utilized his better performance in the DRS zones to ascend to second place. Ferrari team president Frederic Vasseur said the team is attempting to understand how they can overcome such a significant lead. The advantage is mega big. Dare I say bigger than everybody else, said Vasseur to media. We have to understand how they were able to do something like this. I think we've compensated part of the gap, but we have to improve on this. I think that the difference was probably bigger last year. Probably we were expecting to compensate a bit more, but the gap was bigger last year. For sure, we have room for improvement for this area, but they are doing something different, and they are doing something better, but we are on it. Despite this, Vasseur believes Ferrari is on the right track. The issue now is whether the improvements it can make from here will be sufficient to bridge the gap on a Red Bull squad that will not stand still. The sprint format of the weekend will provide the additional difficulty of a single practice session before moving into qualifying in Azerbaijan. Longer term, Vasseur has not ruled out larger revisions to the car concept for 2024. He implies that doing so is still a possibility. But his conclusion indicates this is a decision that has yet to be made, saying that, on the strategy of development, I think we have good updates and we will see later on in the season if we want to do a continuous improvement of this one and we have room for improvement, or if we have to change more massively the direction we take. Considering that Ferrari's chances of fighting Red Bull for the championship this year look to be very slim, choices taken in the next months might make or break Ferrari's chances of doing so in 2024. What do you think? Will Ferrari become a title challenger again this year? Are all the changes enough to challenge the guys at the front? Let us know your thoughts on Ferrari's updates in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with all the latest Formula One news. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.